Hello and welcome to my bedroom. Today I am reviewing Marcel Tabuteau's biography entitled How Do You Expect to Play the Oboe If You Can't Peel a Mushroom? It's not about mushrooms, which I was expecting a little bit, but not really. Okay, so first off, um, this book, it's great. It's fantastic. For the first question, how did it affect me personally or whatever? It didn't really affect me too much. Um, like on a personal level, although it did make me appreciate more the current state of classical music because back in the day, like you're always like, oh, the good old days, blah, blah, blah. The music was so great. Everybody loved music. Well, yes, everybody loved music, but nobody could really play it according to this book. And the education systems were a little weird. And they had to import a lot of people over from Europe because they didn't have any good wind players here. So I think that really kind of struck me on them like the whole music scene here didn't really start until like 50 years ago. Well, I mean, like it had started, but not really. If that makes any sense. Um, and how this book would apply to like the field at large, it gives insight to the American music scene in the early 1900s, which I kind of talked about a little bit, and it allows us to also get perceptive insight on the foundation of the school of thinking in the way of the oboe here in the United States, because Marcel Tabuteau essentially founded that school of thought, and it came from France. So, like, better understanding the origins of the American style of oboe playing, and because he was really influential. Um, as for who I would recommend, who this is primarily targeted towards, I would definitely say oboists, just because they'd be like, "Oh, Marcel Tabuteau, I know him," and it all applies to oboe. But it also really just applies to any kind of music in general. So whether you're a conductor or a different wind player, or a string player, or a brass player, or a percussionist, or if you just like music, you appreciate it, you want to know more about it. Composers, everybody. It's great. It's primarily, I think, for musicians themselves, but it could be for anybody. Um, it really made me think about what success is, because this book, this book is like a really old musician who is no longer playing, but likes to throw out all the names of the people with whom they did play. And just the sheer number of names that I have never heard that are in this book, but they're obviously someone important, is a little staggering, because I'm in the music field and I have never heard of most of the people in here. So, like, you're never really going to be remembered. So success is more for you than for anybody else. And also, um, like, obviously it's for other people as well, but they won't but like the building foundations and stuff, but your own personal success is more for you than anybody else, because no one's going to remember it. Um unless you're Marcel Tabuteau, in which case you have biographies written about you and you are like one of the most influential people in music history, whatever. Um and it also really was insightful on like the general progress of music, like how it changed from the late 1800s to the early 1900s, and now how much different it is now, how much more widespread it is, how many more people actually do it. Um, excuse me. And as for a quote that I found really resonating with me, it says right here on page 197. Arion remembered Tabuteau's long cigarette holder, which was a piece of oboe cane, and how he used it to illustrate the end of a phrase. No, you don't finish it by, and he put his hand down on the tabletop, flat, bang, and I knocked stuff over. You don't land down like that. Then he blew a little smoke and said, now watch. As the smoke drifted slowly upward, he said, that's the way to finish a note. When the tone fades away, it goes up, it doesn't sink. And I thought that was like, I was like, whoa, because it's very true. And when you think about it like that, it gives like a whole different it's a whole different perspective on it, and it makes you think about everything slightly differently. And I just think it's intriguing to because that is absolutely what you want to do, and to hear it put so perfectly is like, and there are a lot of quotes in there like that, and I'm just gonna go through it and find the good ones, and apply it, or try to. And then the biographer, Laila Storch, lovely lady. Let's see, she's in here. She is in here. There we go. Laila Storch. She was a world-renowned oboist in her own right. That's exactly what it says on the cover. She studied with Marcel Tabuteau in the 40s at Curtis while he was teaching there, and in her time, she was the principal oboist for the Houston Symphony Orchestra, the Carmel Bach Festival, the Bethlehem Bach Festival, Marlborough Music Festival, the Castles Festival, and she played with the National Symphony Orchestra, Kansas City Philharmonic, Puerto Rico Symphony Orchestra. She taught oboe at the Conservatory of Music of Puerto Rico, at the University of Washington, Indiana University, and Central Conservatory of Music in Beijing. So, and she was also in the Sony Venturum Wind Quintet. So she had quite an interest. Like she knows what she's talking about. Um, she's had a the only word I can think of is voluptuous, but that's definitely not how to describe a career. Um, but that's the idea. She had an incredible career, so she really knows what she's talking about. She studied with him directly, so she used a lot of her own, like a lot of some of these chapters in here, like in here, about is all like her experience in Curtis with as a student of Marcel Tabuteau, this beautiful Frenchman. Um, so what I really learned from this, like I learned a few things about playing my instrument in particular, and also that the realm of professional orchestras is definitely not for me. Just based on like what they were talking. But also it really got impressed on me how incredibly small the world of music is because the same names kept popping up all over the place. Like it's really small, and people tell me that, and I understand that, and like but I never really was able to conceptualize it until I heard the same three names for the oboists for I don't remember them. You'd think I would. But like they just kept getting repeated and repeated and repeated. And I'm like, oh wow, small world. And also it impressed upon me how much different music education is now than it was back then. Because back then it was just kind of like, oh, you have some money, cool. Here's an instrument. You're gonna go get private lessons a little bit, maybe in high school, okay, and then whoom, you show up to college, you play like a scale, and maybe a couple of sight reading things, and they're like, okay, you're good, and that was Curtis. And but now it's like, you got to go up, you like music education all the way through elementary school, middle school, high school. You take private lessons, you audition on like professional repertoire, and you're expected to be able to do all this stuff. It was not like that back then. But also, but the world of music is a lot bigger. There are a lot more people in it. It's a lot more competitive, and I yeah, and a lot more people are more skilled. So like it's weird, and like I never really thought I was always like, oh, a roaring music world. But yeah, okay. So who would I recommend it to? And well, would I? Yes, absolutely, 100%. And to whom? Well, primarily oboists because well, he's an oboe player. Everything in here is about oboe. It would be easiest for an oboist to relate to that, but any wind player can really um relate to it, find something important in there, and any musician will be able to find something in here that's worthwhile because it is insightful in just playing music in general, the idea of what music is, pedagogy, um, like not really tips, but like how to be a better musician. Like it's not just about oboe, um, and really historians or anybody who likes music or wants insight on one of the greatest performers and pedagogues of all time, it's just like go read it. And how's it read? It reads like a biography, which is okay. um, it's somewhere in between an easy read and a textbook because it's not quite textbook, but it's definitely not an easy read. Like look at this, uh, and it's all like, oh, that's a really bad page to show you because there's nothing on it. It's all just like it's heavy text. It's a lot of text, and a lot of it's names, a lot of it's lists of music, lists of venues, descriptions. So like it is a little hard to read it sometimes, but it's good. And oh, 34 seconds left. Okay, so what was the biggest thing I learned from this? So be a little less hard on myself because you get there. You get there when you get there, and really listen to what people tell me because people know what they're talking about, and which like I knew that, but like they really do, and just listen to what everybody tells you. Like just absorb it, and apply it. 10 seconds, and also metaphors really get the job done. Use metaphors; they're great. they were all over the book, and they're really